over the 2-year period of 2022 and 2020. These details are indicated in Table 3 in the statement. The performance is indicated at distinction 2 and above level, then cumulative performance at credit 6 and above level, and then pass 8 and above, which is the minimum. And we're giving these subject by subject, and we are comparing between the 2 years. English language, we see that 12.2% of our candidates were able to secure or to score at least a distinction 2. This compares to 7.2 in the previous year, meaning that in English, performance at that level drastically improved. We also see at credit level 65.4% cumulatively of the candidates passed, compared to 59.5%. Again, at this level, there was marked improvement. The overall pass level is comparable at 87.1% and 87.5%. Social studies showed a decline. At the distinction 2 level, we have 12.1% compared to 14.5%, a slight drop. Similarly, at the credit level, we have 73.5% compared to 79.2%, also a slight drop. And then overall pass, 88.6% compared to 93.1% the previous year. So we see that in this particular examination, Mama, the social studies performance wasn't as, it was slightly down from the previous year. We notice an improvement in science at the distinction and credit level, and also happily we note a very good improvement in mathematics, where this year the candidates, 6.3% of the candidates are able to score a distinction pass compared to 4.7% the previous examination. At the credit level, 52.7% of the candidates passed cumulatively compared to 47.2%. So we can say, looking at this table, that at the quality pass level, as the chairperson said, that is the credit and the distinction levels, performance have been much better than in the previous year. Overall, we can say the performance was comparable. Then we compare the subject performance by gender. In table 4, Mama, the subjects are the same. We have the males on one side and the females on the other side. From the table, you can see that the female candidates have performed better than the male candidates in English language. Mama, this has always been the case. The girls have always given the boys a bloody nose when it comes to English, but then the boys surface above them in the other 3 subjects. This has been the trend that we have kept observing. The candidates' performance has generally improved, as can be seen from the percentages that are scoring distinction and credit grades. Mama, examiners again reported that candidates are exhibiting very good quality handwriting and organized work that they are presenting. Even where they are not getting the correct, for example, in mathematics, where they are not getting it right, they still show that they know what they are doing. Excuse me, Mama, there is a little... Sorry about that. There's a page missing from my statement. Ma'am, I present the overall performance by division. This is indicated in Table 5. The candidates' overall performance by division of grades were showing again Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and Division U. 2022 versus 2020. We see in Division 1, 114,617 candidates, representing 14.1% of our candidates passed in first grade. Mama, this is a big increase from the 81,864 or 11.1. So we are up by about 3 percentage points. Division 2, we also have a cumulative percentage of 58.2 compared to 56.7 the previous year. So again, the quality passes that we are seeing, we saw at the distinction and the credit level are being seen here when we look at now the overall divisional grades. So again, we are saying that candidates of 2022 at the quality level passes, they have done much better. In terms of numbers, 714,702 candidates passed the PLE compared to 659,910 the previous year. Overall, therefore, Mama, more pupils have qualified to join the post-primary institutions than in the previous year. We deem the candidates to have passed if they have obtained divisional grades of 1, 2, 3, or 4. Such candidates will qualify to register for post-primary examinations conducted by UNEB. The Division U, which we call ungraded, is awarded to candidates who have failed to reach the minimum level of performance that can be awarded at least at Division 4. Such candidates should not be admitted to Senior 1, but should repeat, because if they are admitted in Senior 1, they will not be eligible to register for the Uganda Certificate of Education UCE examination later. Mama, I report the divisional grades by funding. That is, we are comparing the UPE and the non-UPE. As we observed from the table, the candidates of the non-UPE they have performed better, as have always been the case. Their numbers are small, but if you're looking at it proportionally in terms of percentages, then you can say they have performed better than the UPE candidates. This has been observed in the past, and the reasons for this disparity in performance, as indicated in the earlier studies by UNEB, could include the fact that, yes, the teachers in the urban areas tend to spend more time on task, and the learners also seem to spend more time in school. The teachers also tend to adopt teaching methods that emphasize preparation for test taking. There is a higher level of involvement also of the urban parents in their children's learning process. And the urban areas generally tend to have better access to those facilities that supplement classroom teaching. So these are the reasons that we think could be explaining the reason why there is a better performance being shown by the urban candidates against the UPE candidates that are mainly in our rural areas. Mama, I've also compared the overall performance by gender. We see that the males performed better, and this has been the trend over the last years. I also report performance of special candidate groups. These are the inmates first. The board maintains an examination center at the Uganda Government Prison School in Luzira. And this year, a total of 68 candidates were registered compared to 58 registered in 2022. So there were 10 more. And of those that registered, 63 of them sat, and the other 5 were absent. They could have possibly been released before the examination period. Now, 5 of them passed in Division 1, 34 of them passed in Division 2, 9 obtained Division 3, 7 obtained Division 4, and Mama, only 1 was ungraded. In other words, 1 did not qualify to proceed. Then the second special group is the special needs candidates that we are also reporting by category: the physically handicapped, the blind, the partially blind, the deaf, the dyslexics, and those others that require transcribers. And then there are the special needs that do not require any particular assistance except to be given more time. The reports indicate that the partially blind and the dyslexics and those that are needing only extra time have done quite well, comparable to the other normal candidates. Mama, it appears that those that have hearing impairment, the deaf, seem to find it a little hard to handle. The teaching learning process seems to be a bit harder for them because we don't see anyone of them getting Division 1, although reasonably good number of 50 passed in Division 2. I comment briefly on examination malpractice. The scouts and examiners that we have deployed in this examination have reported a number of cases of suspected external assistance that have been rendered to candidates by third parties inside the examination room, and the smuggling of information relevant to the examination by some candidates. Our security also arrested quite a number of distributors and teachers who had cut open the question paper envelopes ahead of time in order to access question papers. And these were reported in the districts of Mukono, Gomba, Mpigi, and the Greater Masaka areas. A number of these have been arrested and charged in courts of law under the relevant sections of the Boards Act. As I speak now, over 10 such persons have been remanded to prison in Mpigi and Masaka. Others were earlier remanded and have been released on bail awaiting their day in court. In accordance with Section 5(2)(b) of the UNEB Act, the board will withhold the results of the affected candidates until investigations are complete. And should there be any that are withheld further after the investigations, they will then meet the Examination Security Committee to have a hearing if there is a prima facie case established against them. Mama, after this examination, the board gives a feedback to its stakeholders. We do this through a document called a report on the work of candidates, which we are compiling using the observations made by the examiners. And advice will be given to the teachers on those areas where the examiners observe that candidates experienced learning difficulties. We want to encourage our stakeholders, particularly the teachers, to utilize this report when eventually they receive them. A word of gratitude. I would like to join our chairperson in thanking you, Mama, for the support that we have received from you to ensure that we obtain the necessary funds to run the examination. In the same vein, I thank the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development for releasing the funds that we require within a reasonable time to enable the examination activities to run as scheduled. I would also like to thank the chairperson and the members of the board for the good governance and guidance that we at the Secretariat continue to receive in the process of preparing these examinations. And I also thank the district leaders, the chief administrative officers, the district and urban education officials, the monitors, scouts, and invigilators for their participation and support during the management of the 2022 primary living examination. Honorable Minister, I wish in a very special way to appreciate the staff of the Uganda National Examinations Board Secretariat, who over the last examination seasons have risen to the occasion to serve their country with dedication in the face of the COVID-19 and then the recent Ebola risks. Mama, we dedicated each activity and each day in prayer for God's guidance and protection. And I am happy to report, Mama, that no staff of the board or any of the contracted professionals who participated in the various examination activities were affected either by the COVID-19 or the Ebola infections. Mama, I want to give also special thanks to the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of the Defense Forces and other security agencies for availing their personnel to support UNEB in ensuring the security of the 2022 PLE in the field and at our marking centers. Mama, the UPDF airlifted examination papers from Moroto to the districts in the Karamoja region where insecurity had made it risky for us to move by road. I want to single out Brigadier General Balikudembe for special thanks, the UPDF division commander that is based in Moroto, for a very, very smooth arrangements and coordination that we made together to ensure that not only examinations materials were airlifted to those other areas, but even those other areas where the security was much better and we could travel by road, he made sure that we had the necessary military escort to ensure that these exams reached safely. And we were able to collect them back also safely for marking. I would also like to thank the media for the role that they have played and they continue to play in giving prominence to examinations activities and also for exposing examination malpractice. I also wish to join the chairperson in congratulating the candidates who have passed and the teachers who have prepared them and their parents and guardians for the support. Finally, Mama, I also thank the institutions that allowed the Uganda National Examinations Board to use their premises and facilities to mark the PLE exam, despite the fact that the exercise would normally affect their school holiday and the Christmas period. I wish to appeal to the chief administrative officers to ensure that invigilators and other people who participate in field management of the examination are paid promptly. Up to now, Honorable Minister, some invigilators from a few districts have not yet been paid, despite the fact that the PLE was done more or less at the beginning of November. Collection of results. Mama, as soon as you release these results, they will be uploaded on the examination center portals. Each school can therefore download their results as soon as you've done the release. However, the district, municipal, and city inspectors of schools who may wish to have the hard copies from UNEB may collect these starting from Monday, 30th January, from our offices in Ntinda. Currently, no copies of the results are available. However, parents and candidates and other interested parties may use a short message service on mobile phone networks which will post the results of their candidates on their mobile sets instantly. The instruction to get this is if they go to the message menu on their phone, they type PLE, leave space, type the full and correct index number of the candidate, and then send this to 6600. They should be able to get their results instantly. There may be a delay because of the traffic at the beginning, but they will get these results without any problems. Mama, I want to thank you very much for your kind attention, and I submit.
Thank you very much. May I request the chairperson of UNEB to officially present the PLE results to the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports.
The First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, it is my great pleasure and privilege to present the 2022 Primary Leaving Examinations PLE for release to the nation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
A bigger round of applause to the UNEB team. And an exceptional round of applause to the First Lady, our Ministers of State, and the Permanent Secretary for the able leadership. Thank you very much. I would like to take this singular honor to invite the Minister of State for Education, in charge of primary education, to invite the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports to give her address and officially release the results. Thank you.
Mama, our First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, my colleague, the Honorable Minister of State in charge of higher education, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education and Sports, the Chairperson, UNEB, the Executive Director, UNEB, all the senior members of staff of the Ministry of Education and UNEB, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Our God is great, and we are here yet again to test and see the goodness of the Lord. Why not to give him a mighty clap? Thank you. Mama, I've been called to invite you to address the nation. However, permit me, before inviting you, to give 2 points. 1, today is yet another milestone in the history of NRM government, and under your able leadership, Mama, as the head of education sector, on behalf of the education fraternity and on my own behalf, permit me to congratulate you, Mama, our candidates, our parents, our teachers, as we celebrate the release of PLE result 2022. Let's give a mighty clap. Thank you. We do not take this achievement for granted. Mama, your visionary leadership and strategic directives at the Ministry of Education and Sports has made it possible for us to work hard as a team and to see the results that we are releasing today. The Bible tells us from the book of Matthew, chapter 7, to be like a wise man who built his house on a rocky foundation, and the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall because it has been founded on a rocky, solid foundation. Similarly, Mama, you have built the Ministry of Education and Sports on a rocky foundation, a strong, solid foundation based on Christian values and integrity, team spirit, commitment, transparency, and accountability in all that we do. Much as there are challenges and shortcomings, where there is the will, there is the way. By the grace of God, we will always overcome those challenges. The timely conclusion of the examination process, indeed, is a confirmation that UNEB is always prepared to perform despite the challenges they go through. UNEB assures the exercise is not interrupted and results are released timely. Point number 2, Mama Permit strategy has now seen the numbers in UPE enrollment increased from 2.5 million in 1996 to 3.1 million learners in 1997 when UPE was brought on board. And now the enrollment stands at 8.8 7 million learners in government-aided schools who are getting UPE capitation grants. Overall, Mama, we have a total of 10.3 million learners in primary education in Uganda. This significant increase in primary school enrollment is an indication that the payment of fees was a big impediment for a poor rural family. Today, as you release the results, Mama, we realize 70.1% of the candidates were registered, enrolled in UPE schools. And I'm happy to inform the nation that government policy on education is to ensure one primary school per parish. Currently, out of the 10,595 parishes in Uganda, 90% parishes have got primary schools, while 10% of the parishes do not have primary schools. And this is simply because of the new administrative units that have been created in the recent years. Mama, the UPE program in Uganda demonstrates that the poor country can fight poverty through ensuring universal access to education for their citizens. After achieving universal access to education, our focus now is on the quality of education, as we've seen from the results of UPE. As I conclude, Mama, to our parents, being a parent is an incredible blessing from the Lord. Raising children and watching them grow in their potential and personality can bring a great joy in the family. In the book of Psalm 127, it is written, "Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from Him." Proverbs 29 tells us, "Parents, discipline your children, and they will give you peace, peace of mind, and make your hearts happy." As parents, we have cardinal duty from God to be responsible and take full responsibility towards the education of our children. I'm therefore appealing to all parents to register all children and let them come to school at the beginning of this year on Monday, 6 February 2023. Finally, Mama, as we celebrate our children, our parents, our learners, we also remember to celebrate and appreciate your neighbor officials, hundreds of security personnel, and all those who participated in the process of examination to its logical conclusion. Mama, the nation is waiting. Our children are eagerly waiting for your message. It's now my duty and honor to invite you to address the nation and thereafter officially release the results. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put hands together to welcome Mama as she comes to address the nation. We thank you. Long live Mama, long live our candidates, long live Uganda.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kaduchu. My colleagues, Ministers of State for Education, the PS of the Ministry of Education, the Chairperson of UNEB, Professor Mero Kwakor, Executive Director, UNEB, Mr. Dan Odom, and your team, the media, fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year to you all. hearts are full of gratitude to God for bringing us to this day as a sector and as a nation. Our children returned safely back to school and were able to complete the year despite a number of challenges, including the Ebola outbreak, and affected our people. Indeed, we no longer take these achievements, and we shouldn't take these achievements for granted. Today, we celebrate a total of 832,659 candidates who registered for PLE. Compared, as you heard from the speakers before me, compared the 749,761 in 2020. Now, despite the disruptions occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic and the Ebola outbreak, especially on the girl child, we continue to register good numbers at these and other levels of education, and we cannot thank God enough for this. And I know that many people speak freely about education with no much evidence about what they are talking about. But we want Uganda to hear that in spite of all this, education in the country is doing well, and we continue to register good numbers at this and other levels of education, and we cannot thank God at all enough for it. What is even more gratifying is that of the registered number, 583,768, which means 70.1%, from 11,306 centers were universal primary education beneficiaries, UPE, and 248,982, meaning 29.9%, are the candidates from the non-UPE schools. These statistics, therefore, indicate the rising confidence the people of Uganda have put in UPE. Since the proportion of candidates benefiting from the Universal Primary Education Program has increased last year by 1.7%. So, as UPE marks 25 years this year, it is very heartwarming to know that our people have and continue to benefit from this government service, this program of universal primary education. We are all grateful, therefore, to God for the fact that registration of the PLE in 2022 increased by a larger percentage than ever before, despite the fears voiced by many over the possible massive dropouts of the learners due to the circumstances prevailing at the time. I'm also pleased to note an increase in the registration of candidates with special needs from 1,599 in 2020 to 2,436 in 2022. Which is an increase of 52.3%, representing the largest rate of increase of children of this category witnessed in the PLE registration. Of these children, 1,153, or 47.3%, are females, and 1,283, meaning 52.7%, are boys. Consequently, I acknowledge with gratitude the fact that more parents are realizing the value of education the girl child, even with special needs, has in a family. Thank you for the investment you have made in your children and for believing in them by God's grace. Indeed, your encouragement gives them the confidence that they can rise and shine to fulfill God's destiny for their lives, just like any other child can. At the national level, I must pay tribute to the chairperson, the board and staff of UNEB for successfully conducting the PLE 2022 in the face of several challenges, as all of us know. Furthermore, my sincere appreciation goes to the security and field personnel, district, local governments, and all the stakeholders that tirelessly serve our nation by supporting the PLE examination and the rollout, the execution of the examination and the rollout. They achieved this during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they have done it again. So we can only say thank you. On behalf of the Ministry of Education and Sports, I'd like to express our gratitude to the President and all the key stakeholders in the health sector for their support in ensuring the safety of learners as the country faced yet another outbreak of the Ebola virus. At a crucial time when our learners prepared to write this examination, this outbreak had the potential of disrupting the education system as a whole, and in particular, the exam period. Now, let me turn also to my observation of the results we released today. I have noticed from the statement of results that the rate of absenteeism of learners who had initially registered for the PLE and which has been steadily declining in the last 4 years has also increased again by 0.8%, approximately 8,000 learners. There is need to inquire into the cause of this increase in absenteeism, since it does a great disservice to the nation, to the families, and in particular the children who make the effort to invest resources, time and their energies to attend school for 7 whole years. For these young people to miss out on sitting their examination and the opportunity to move to the next level of their education is truly unfortunate. It's painful, and cumulatively, it's a loss to all of us and the nation. Similarly, the ministry is concerned about the low rate of completion at primary school level, which currently stands at 32%. I appeal to you all to note that completion of the learner's education cycle should be considered as a priority and a collective effort of the schools, of parents and guardians, as well as the community in general. I therefore call upon all schools and the education sector stakeholders in every district to look into this matter and address the root cause. As a ministry, we're going to take this on and find some solutions. We want to inform the country with certainty what we know about what is bringing this dropout rate, so that if there is a way we can put an end to it, we do it as government. And we will not stop until we inform the country about what we consider to be our solution. I also appeal to the parents and guardians to play an active role in providing both the physical and emotional support children require during the course of their education and the examination period. Please work together to ensure that no child loses the opportunity for a bright future by missing classes and dropping out of school or being absent during the examination period. Once a child is enrolled in school, they should and must complete the education cycle. Once a child is registered for an examination, that child must sit for that examination. No child should be disadvantaged. Ladies and gentlemen, I am, however, happy to note that compared to the previous year, 2021, this year the candidates' performance has generally improved, as is evidenced in higher percentages of scores with distinction and credit grades. In particular, the English language examination registered significant improvement in performance at the distinction and credit levels. Likewise, there is an increase in performance in mathematics at the distinction and credit pass levels compared to the previous year. Hence, in terms of numbers, many more children passed the 2022 PLE compared to the previous year. And for that we thank God. This is gratifying as we steadily recover from the effects of COVID-19 on the economy and well-being of the people. So I applaud the stakeholders in the education sector for this achievement indeed. As government, we assure the parents and guardians that we will continue to work with our institutions and the private providers of education to ensure that those who qualify for admission into post-primary institutions are placed in the secondary schools and the post-primary vocational institutions. Now, sadly, I have to address the problem of examination malpractices. As a Ministry of Education, we continue to express our deep concern over this vice. This year, there were a number of suspected incidences of external assistance of candidates. Unfortunately, this includes teaching staff who should be the custodians and role models of integrity and trustworthiness. I'd like to remind all our teaching staff now that these young people look up to them and replicate what you model before them. We must therefore demonstrate utmost discipline when fulfilling our roles and functions. Indeed, this is a universal requirement of humanity and in particular, the education profession. Furthermore, none of our cultural or religious beliefs condone cheating or dishonesty. In Titus chapter 2, verses 7 to 8, the Bible states, in quotes, "You yourselves must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching cannot be criticized." Unquote. I therefore sound a strong warning to all head teachers who have been found attempting to institutionalize cheating by cutting open questions paper envelopes to access the questions before time, the question papers prior to the designated examination time, to desist this evil. The Ministry of Education and Sports will not tolerate examination malpractices, and we have said this many times, almost every year, as was witnessed during the 2022 PLE. Our scouts and security personnel assigned to oversee examinations will and will cause the arrest, as you heard from my colleague before me, of all those engaged in examination malpractice. Please know that it will not be business as usual now, because now, as you heard from Mr. Udong, the UNEB Act of 2021 is out. It provides for punitive action for those found guilty of participating in and condoning this practice, I have the faith and confidence that our judicial officers will accord appropriate sentences to those found guilty, and we are hopeful that this is the first time that that example will be seen out in the public, so that people may know that this can no longer be accepted or cannot be business as usual anymore. I also acknowledge the fact that prevention is key to ending this vice. Consequently, I strongly appeal to the UNEB officials to purposefully engage all the relevant stakeholders and duty bearers in order to identify the areas of weaknesses and gaps that facilitate this vice and address them. We must exert a deliberate and concerted effort in order to bring an end to these practices. In the meantime, we make the commitment on our part as the Ministry of Education and Sports to provide unwavering support to the efforts of UNEB in this direction. I should also sound a word of caution here to the private providers of education who fail to present candidates to sit the examination that they were registered for, as was the case in Kakumiro district. This is no less than a criminal act, and I hope that by now the perpetrators have been brought to book. District education officials throughout the country must monitor such schools and consider them for closure before they do more harm to our children. No school should put their self-interests before the future and the development of our children in this manner. Actions such as these can have lifelong implications on a child's development and academic performance. They cause insecurity and impact negatively on the self-confidence of our children. In this regard, I express my sincere gratitude to the UNEB officials for their consideration of the plight of the 23 learners who almost missed out on the year's examination last year out of no fault of their own. I also affirm the chairperson's position that this act of offering an alternative examination does not create a precedent, because the situation in this instance was unique. Finally, and very importantly, let me appeal to the nation that as a sector, we are not blind to the plight of parents and guardians as they grapple with the exorbitant school fees and charges in our schools. This has been our burden for some time. But we don't just talk about this without any firm evidence of what we're talking about. We don't just want to continue to talk about things that are affecting education as if we are doing nothing about them. We recently worked in partnership with the Norwegian Embassy to carry out a study on the UPE program with the main aim of determining whether we need to charge fees or not in our government schools. You may wonder why we focus on the UPE program. But it is because this is where many of our vulnerable families take their children, and we are concerned that all our children access education, not just some. Still on the issue of regulating school fees in our schools, we constituted a committee headed by Professor Kayanja to conduct a study on the hiking of school fees and charges to help us make an informed decision on the way forward. This study brought a number of issues to the fore and is guiding our discussions at the sector level. This week, on Monday, we sought Cabinet's guidance on this issue. Cabinet has guided that all schools maintain the fees structure for third term of 2022 as we await further guidance on government on this matter. Please know that we are aware of the high commodity prices that have greatly affected the cost of running schools and life in general, but we must also be considerate of the plight of those parents and guardians. It is my prayer, therefore, that our schools, government-aided schools, and private schools will adhere to our guidance not to increase school fees in the next term, as we all seek a fair and lasting solution to this matter. Yesterday, as the President was addressing the Kakumiro Day, he said to the public, he said that everybody should just stay tuned and wait and listen to what the government is going to say about these school charges, so that perhaps we can find a lasting solution. So government is really working hard. I want the parents and guardians to know that we understand and we care, and government is working very hard to find that lasting solutions. It is my prayer, therefore, that our schools, the government-aided schools, and even the private schools will adhere now to our guidance not to increase school fees in the next term, as we all seek a fair and lasting solution to this matter. In conclusion, I congratulate all the candidates who sat for the PLE. I congratulate the learners who have performed well. My appreciation goes to the school administration, parents and guardians for the support and sacrifices that you render to these children that led to their success. I'm also grateful to all the stakeholders in the education sector, the district leaders, the security personnel who played various roles in ensuring the success of the PLE examination. For those who were not successful with the PLE, I appreciate your courage, your hard work, and the effort you made to sit these exams. But while you have not achieved the grades you desired, I want to encourage you not to lose hope, but to trust in the Lord and believe that this is not the end of the road for you. Therefore, do not give up. Continue to focus on achieving your goals, seek counsel, and take advantage of the other opportunities as well as avenues in the education sector to advance yourself. You should also consider repeating so that you get better grades to enable you to achieve your academic goals. With regard to the selection exercise for Senior 1, this will be held on the 2nd and 3rd Feb 2023 at the Uganda Manufacturers Association Exhibition Hall. The date for reporting to school for Senior 1 will be the 20th of February 2023. It is now my singular pleasure to release the 2022 Primary Living Examination results to the public, and I want to thank you for listening to me. As you have already seen here, thank you, and God bless you.
Once again, we would like to thank our torchbearer, our team leader, Mama, for offering strategic direction and leadership to the sector. Thank you very much. As we come to the conclusion of this function, we are going to have the anthems once again, but this time in reverse order. And thereafter we shall have a question and answer session. And during that phase, I would request whoever is asking a question to come to the microphone for Mama to be able to see you. Secondly, I will request Honorable Dr. J.C. Muyingo to provide guidance to those who will raise questions in Luganda. I would like to request you to rise up as we sing the anthems. Thank you very much. You can take your seats. It's now time for the question and answer session.